from like when you were younger, I know you went to Barcelona, and from even before that, right? Like what was it that drive you to be an entrepreneur?
Sit down in a comfortable chair. So genetically, there's two things, right? When you become an entrepreneur, you have examples like in my family. My grandfather started a business after the Spanish Civil War. Brian knows all about this. So when you have examples like that in your family that you look up to, that you actually respect, or that actually were successful, it's very easy to fall, love struck with that idea, or fall in love with the thought of entertaining it. But what drives me to become an entrepreneur is also not just the genetic makeup, is you play to your strengths. At the end of the day, you do what you're good at, and you're good at what you like. And if you don't like it and you're not good at it, you're. But I was lucky also, and it went well. So that's the answer to your question, maybe.
Yeah. So when you were younger, did you actually like strive to be an entrepreneur from when you were like 5 years old, or did it sort of come later?
No, honestly, I wanted to be a soccer player when I was 5. It's true.
It's a pretty good job too.
If you can make it and you stay healthy, I mean, there are guys that have to retire at 28, and
It's
they're
true.
when they've reached the top of the world. And Messi is at the top of the world in his specialty, and he's 33 and he still hasn't retired. So, no, when I was 5, I did not think of business. I did not think of Brian. Actually, I grew very, much to like him and his idea, because I saw that he had it early on. I saw that he was driven and wanted it, and he had the right makeup and the right thought process, and his brain was all about that. My ideas became later. I had a career like everybody else. I went to university. I studied economics, and one of my business class professors was my marketing professor. I think I may have talked about this at Trier when Brian saw me speak first. My first mentor was my marketing teacher, and my marketing teacher, he said he saw I was a good student of marketing, and I got an A in his class. And one day after class, he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Jordy, if you want to, this is in junior year, the year before I graduated." He says, "Next year, you won't have me as your professor, but after you graduate, come see me, because I want to place you at a job in one of my clients." So he actually put me under his wing, and I started to work as one of his clients after I graduated. So it was kind of like a win-win for me, not because I graduated his class with an A, but because at the end of the day, he helped me out also get my first job, and as a product marketing manager in a cosmetics company, which is what I did for the better part of a year after I graduated with my master's. So,
Wow.
I got a job at a cosmetics company, then I got a job at a flavor and fragrance company, and then I got into family business, and then, I got the respect of other entrepreneurs in my family whom I had always respected. So what goes around comes around, I guess, right? And that's
Yeah.
how it happens in my world.
So what was it like actually having a mentor? And what was that sort of relationship like?
Ask Brian how it feels.
Honestly, the funny thing is that one of my professors here is a marketing professor, and he taught me all about like what kind of experience really matters, and so that's like what really inspired me to get into copywriting, which is what I'm currently working on. I know that it feels like you have secrets. Like, to be honest, like that's really what it feels like, because like when you're learning with a group in a class, like you feel like a sense of camaraderie with your classmates. But I get the sense that like when you get to talk to somebody one-on-one and you get to kind of have those little nuggets and insights of knowledge, like you really feel inspired and motivated to do stuff, because you feel like you have an edge. And even if you might not have as big of an edge as you think, just having that kind of personal connection and having what like industry secrets, I guess, it inspires you to like work a lot harder, in my opinion. I think like that's the biggest thing, is to feel like you're supported and that you have somebody that you could go to if you have any questions. Like you feel like you have a direction. It just helps you with your direction in life, I think.
I agree, but I can also add, there's no substitute for experience. And what I love about teaching and what I love about talking to you young guys, or younger people than me that have less experience, is hopefully, and this is funny, and mentoring from the other side, but I'll tell you, I know that when I had a mentor, the most valuable thing that he could share with me was his experience. Okay, these little things that, and sometimes it's not that they fly over your head and that you can't hear them or understand them, is that we get, as humans, we get so caught up in the moment that unless somebody tells you, hey kid, write this down, you know, this you're going to use for the rest of your life. I may have heard things that I'm using today 20, 30, 40 different times. And until it happened to me and I needed to use it, I didn't realize that somebody had told me that before, you know?
Yeah.
So the experience that other people have, and this happens a lot with the teenage brain. I've studied the teenage brain. I have two teenagers. One is a senior at New Trier now, like Brian was when I met him. But so my son, my daughter who's 14, she's a freshman at New Trier. I tell them things and I'm like, don't listen to me because I'm your father. Don't listen to me because I've done it before. Listen to me because this is what will happen to you. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, there's a saying in Spanish that says the devil knows more because he is old than because he is the devil. Okay. And it's true. I don't know. Your last name is Lugo. I don't know if you're Portuguese, Brazilian, Spanish, or where you're
Puerto
from.
Rican.
Okay. Or where your ethnicity is from. It doesn't matter. But the saying is in Spanish, and you might find it, you might Google it. But, you know, the devil has been around as from the first creation of the universe. So if you think about it, you know, it's true. The experience, and you try to look for a job when you're 52, my case, right? I've applied for a general manager job recently because I was looking to buy a company. I wanted to keep my entrepreneurship thing going. But this acquisition of this company in Spain would have meant that I was going to be flying all over the world. You know, again, and COVID hits in March. I had acquired the funds to go buy a $60 million company. That's revenues. I was going to pay a lot more. The bank was going to help me pay a lot more than $60 million for it. But, and I was going to be the CEO, and as an entrepreneur, that's what you do. But so all of a sudden COVID hits, we're stuck in March of 2020. And despite you may have gotten the funds, despite you may have the profile, despite you know the industry, you know how to make that company work better and longer, and you have a company that's willing to sell to you, all of a sudden COVID hits. What are you going to do? Okay, so I'm looking for a job. This buddy of mine wants to hire a general manager, kind of like a CEO, kind of like an assistant, you know, to the CEO. And I'm like, well, and they're like, no, we're looking for somebody younger. We're looking for somebody that has less experience. We're looking for somebody that can grow within the company, right? And I'm like, okay, that means you're overqualified. That was telling me either they don't want to pay my salary or they want to grow with another candidate, which is fine. And knowing what I know is they're going to let that person make mistakes. They're going to let that person grow within. And that's okay, but that's what typically ends up happening. So I respect experience a lot. And in other cultures, like especially in the Asian culture, I've read a lot about Southeast Asia, and Brian can tell you too. In the Latin cultures, we respect our elders a lot more. In other cultures, they want youth, and they want to learn. They want to teach people lessons by baptism under fire. Okay. And that's what mentors help to do. And that's why consultants are around, because consultants teach those lessons. So maybe I'm rambling now, but maybe that
Sounds
answers your question.
interesting.
About how it feels to be a mentor and how it feels to have a mentor.
So there are a lot of things that, you know, when you were being mentored when you were younger, you probably learned like a lot. What were some of like the main messages that you learned as a mentee, or what are the main messages that you teach as a mentor?
Oh, well, it's all over the internet. Also, I don't know what Instagram feeds you subscribe to, but I'll tell you. There's a couple of business ones, motivational. Call them what you may. Hard work is key. Showing up on time. Things that will make you a good person. Kindness, empathy. It's things that the soft, not the hard skills, the soft skills, that will give you an edge above other people. I mean, you can be the smartest guy in the room. If you're not willing to work hard, it's never going to happen. You might get lucky for a couple of years, but you have to. Resiliency is another good one that I remember and was in my Nutrier chat at the end of the day. You just have to. I've been in sales. All of us have something to sell, and in sales, and the video that I played to Brian and his colleagues that year at Nutrier when I was in his class, it's about resiliency. Really, it's about you knock on thousands of doors and they're all closed and they don't want to hear about you. Nobody has time for you. Everybody's on Zoom calls. We're all busy 24/7 now because you have access to people 24/7 on Sundays. And that's cool. But so whoever wants to say no will say no, and you got to move on and find the next one that will say yes. And sometimes it takes two doors, and on the second door you knock, it'll be open and wide open, and that's me for you. Or the first time you asked me, I said yes. But or sometimes you need to knock 1,024 times, and until it's not 1,025th time, but don't stop. Don't stop believing that you can actually do something because somebody tells you no.